Now let us talk about IEC 61850 communication profile. So we will discuss what are the various communication protocols we are using in 61850. So let's first discuss the anatomy of IEC 61850 object. Basically, this will help you to understand how the object naming happens in 61850. So if you see this figure, we have physical device which is connected to the network. So this physical device will contain some network address to uniquely identify the device, and then inside that device the logical device will be present in the form of a software component which will define the logical device related to this physical device. So let's say this is a relay which contains the logical device called relay 1. Now inside the relay you may have the two logical nodes related to different sets of measurements. So we may say as MMX U1 and MMX U2. So these two will be the logical nodes, and then after the logical nodes we need to set some functional constraint, that is say mx in both of the cases. So whatever the functional constraints we want to see, that will be in mx, and in the functional constraint you will have separate measurements. So one may be for voltage and another may be the current. So if you want to see the value of current, you need to create the object message as follows. So relay 1 will be the logical device, separated by dollar is the next logical node, that is MMXU2. Then you have the functional constraint, and then after dollar you will have the value of current A. So if you call this object in the software code, you will get feeder to current measurement. So this is the standard way of object naming which is defined in IEC 61850. So all the objects which you see in the 61850 related implementation, those objects will follow the standard naming convention. Now there are various logical node groups. So the first letter will tell you that which logical node group that particular object belongs. L is for system logical node, P is for protection, R is for protection related objects, C is for control, G is generic, I is for interfacing and archiving, A is for automatic control, M is for metering and measurement, S is for sensor and monitoring, X is for switchgear, T is for instrument transformer, Y is for power transformer, and Z is for further power system equipments. So if you see the examples related to logical nodes, PDIF will tell you that this object belongs to the differential protection. So first letter P talks about the protection, and DIF is nothing but differential protection. Now next is RBRF. R is nothing but the protection related object, and BRF is breaker failure. So when you have object naming with logical node as RBRF, that means that we are talking about the breaker failure. Similarly, XCBR is for circuit breaker, CSWI is the switch controller, MMXU is the measurement unit, and YPTR is for power transformer. Now let's see the communication profile of IEC 61850. So in IEC 61850 we have various sets of protocols being used for specific purpose. So the overall architecture can be divided into two subsections. Lower section is corresponding to communication stack and upper one is the application domain. So if you see, SMB is nothing but sampled measurement value and GOOS is generic object oriented substation event. So these two protocols will have only three layers, that is physical layer, then Ethernet based data link layer, and then the application layer. So SMB and GOOS travel directly from link layer to the application layer. So we do not have the IP and TCP or UDP layer in between for SMB and GOOS. So because of that, SMB and GOOS are very fast. So we'll see when we'll talk about these two components in detail. And next is GSSE, that is generic substation status event. So here we need another component called GSSET profile so that the data from link layer can be converted into GSSE. Now, time synchronization protocol is utilized for synchronizing the various devices in the substation, and it generally uses UDP so that the response is very fast and there is less time delay in synchronizing the devices. And then we have another called MMS, that is manufacturer messaging specification, which actually utilizes ACSI, that is abstract communication service interface, for sending the information to the external world using ACSI services. So we will see these things in detail when we'll talk about these protocols in the later slides. Here MMS utilizes the TCP/IP because it is routable. The MMS data we can send from substation to the control center using gateways. Now, abstract communication service interface. So ACSI defines a set of abstract communication services that addresses the basic requirements for the purpose of information exchange. So in the previous slide, you might have seen SCSM layer, which is nothing but a specific communication service mapping, which maps the various services to various objects such as manufacturer messaging specification. So with the help of SCSM, ACSI will define the set of abstract communication services that addresses the basic requirements for the purpose of information exchange. ACSI provides association services to make logical connection between two entities. These entities can be the substation master and the IDs. Now ACSI also defines a set of objects for mapping to the protocols such as MMS. Now ACSI API hides the specific protocol know-how. So the applications which are implemented at the application layer can extract the data through ACSI without knowing how the MMS GOOS or sample measurement values are implemented. So the raw MMS GOOS and sample measurement value protocol data units are automatically decoded into the corresponding ACSI messages so that the applications can receive the required data. ACSI defines a set of services to manipulate and access the objects. All operations automatically update the relational database using ODBC or substation configuration language or in-memory database depending upon the preferred interface. So this will help in directly storing the data into the database using either ODBC connection or maybe the XML based SCL so that the information can be stored properly. The examples of ACSI services are like get dataset value, create dataset, get data directory. So get and set are the most common functions which are used in ACSI to extract the required data from the protocol. Now the sample measurement values. So in sample measurement values, the information which we collect from the feeder is the current and voltage values. So we have the current transformer and potential transformer where we are getting the analog values, and then in the merging unit this information is digitized and then it is shared with the process bus. So merging unit will convert this into a particular protocol called SMV so that this information can be understood by all the IEDs, that is intelligent electronic devices, which are connected in the substation. So SMV is very important because it is the main data acquisition object where the measurement information is stored. Now next is the GOOS message, that is generic object oriented substation event. So GOOS is required for device to multi-device communication. This GOOS is bridgeable but it is not routable because it directly communicates from data link layer to the application layer. So the routing is not possible for the GOOS messages. Here the user defined dataset is sent in the Ethernet multicast messages. So the data generated at the device level will be sent in multicast message format on the Ethernet link layer, and from that it goes to the application layer. So multicast means the device which is generating the GOOS will broadcast that message to the network within the substation. So inside the substation, whoever is subscribing to this message will be able to receive the data broadcasted by the device. So what kind of messages are being sent? The messages are sent on change of any state. So if there is an open and close of the breaker, so that is the change of state. So the GOOS message will be generated on the change of state, or you can query that device to get the periodic status of the device, or maybe if there is a device failure, then also the GOOS message will be broadcasted. Now since GOOS is bridgeable not routable, we need to improve the reliability because we cannot receive always the acknowledgement from the recipients of the GOOS message. So to address the reliability issue, we send the GOOS in multiple times so that the receiving device will get at least the GOOS message in one time. So this improves the reliability of GOOS messaging. So what will be the structure of GOOS message? So we will have one GOOS header where we will store the multicast address, name, then the information of the time until next GOOS is generated, and so on. And then the second part will be the user defined dataset where status information, analog value, data quality, and the time information is stored. Now let's understand how the GOOS messaging is done. Suppose we want to get the GOOS message related to opening of the breaker. So this is the logical representation of the breaker where the physical device is the bay controller and the corresponding logical device is control, that is CTL we are using. Inside that we have a XCBR1 which is the breaker 1 in the form of logical node. Then inside the logical node we have the data object called POS, that is the position, and then we have functional constraint, that is status. So status can be either closed or open. So functional constraint is status, and then in status what information we are sharing. So if you are querying the logical node for status, you will get three values. One is status value, then the quality flag, and then the time. So whenever there is a change in the status, a goose message will be generated. So suppose if there is a opening of breaker at certain times, then whenever the breaker open happens, the Ethernet multicast message will be originated. So the goose message will be generated with the values as open, and the message will be ctl.xcbr1.pos. So whenever there is a change in the status of the breaker, a goose message will be generated which says that status of the goose message is open. Now you can also query the status of the breaker. So you will send the message with get request and send the object, that is ctl.xcbr1.pos, and you are querying about the status. So when you send this command to the logical device, the return which you will get is the response, and the response is the open. Open means the attribute value, and then Q, that is quality is good, and then the time at which the goose message was generated or at which the status was changed. Now next is GSSE. GSSE is generic substation state events. Here only the status data can be exchanged through GSSE, and it uses a status list, that is a string of bits, rather than the data set as we saw in case of goose. So GSSE messages are transmitted directly over IEC 8802-2 or 8802-3. So that is IEEE 802.3, using similar mechanism as we saw in case of goose messages. Now as GSSE is a simpler format when you compare with goose, so GSSE is handled faster in some of the devices, but GSSE is being progressively suppressed by the use of goose, because the GSSE supports only the status information, while goose can handle various values other than the status. So because of the extensive use of goose, the GSSE is not being used commonly in the IEDs. The manufacturing message specification, that is MMS, it is a messaging system for transferring real-time process data and supervisory control information between network devices and or computer application. So basically MMS defines a set of standard objects which must exist in every device on which operation like read, write or event signaling can be executed. So if you want to extract the measurement information or the status information from the device, you can query using MMS. A set of standard message exchanged between client and server station for the purpose of monitoring and controlling of these objects. So from control center, if you want to monitor that object or the device which is connected at the substation, you need MMS for extracting the data and controlling the device remotely. That's why MMS uses TCP/IP for routing the data. Here, a set of encoding rules for mapping of these messages are required whenever it is transmitted. So because of that, we generally utilize ACSI services for the data exchange.